Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Overt Software's Fireside Chat. We are excited to explore the latest update regarding Shibboleth version 5 and its ongoing evolution as a leader in the federated access management. As many of you are aware, Shibboleth is essential for securing access management for institutions worldwide. With version 4 reaching its end of life, it is the perfect time to look at the new features in version 5 and what the future holds for access management. So, since 2010, Overt Software Solutions has been a trusted partner for learning management system, single sign-on, and multi-factor authentication solutions. Headquartered in the UK with teams in Indonesia, we support clients globally, offering personalized expert services with a focus on honesty and community involvement. We are proud to hold Cyber Essential Plus and ISO 27001 certifications, reinforcing our dedication to secure, innovative solutions in the education sector and beyond. So I am delighted to introduce Harry Williams, our Shibboleth support engineer. Harry brings extensive experience in assisting organizations with Shibboleth implementations, and today he will share valuable insights on Shibboleth's new features. So before we start, I would like to remind everyone that if you have any questions, our tech expert is here and ready to help. Please feel free to type your questions in the chat box and we'll make sure to get them answered as soon as possible. Let's get started. Now I will hand over to Harry.
Thank you. So the new version of Shibboleth brings with it some new features that strengthen security and enhance the access management experience. Let's dive into some of the top new features in Shibboleth version 5. So the first key feature I want to cover is the expanded support for the Content Security Policy, or the CSP. The CSP is a security standard that acts as a safeguard, preventing the range of attacks by controlling which resources like JavaScript, CSS, and images can be loaded onto a web page. It functions as a whitelist, ensuring that only trusted sources are allowed to run. To give you a clearer picture, let's go through some of the common types of exploits that the CSP helps protect against. So number one, cross-site scripting, or XSS. XSS occurs when attackers inject malicious scripts into web pages, aiming to steal user data or manipulate site behavior. The CSP prevents these attacks by only allowing scripts from trusted, predefined sources, ensuring that untrusted scripts cannot execute. Number two, data injection attacks. In this type of attack, attackers insert harmful data or code into applications, compromising the integrity of information. The CSP helps mitigate these risks by validating the types of data or scripts that can be processed, blocking any unauthorized content from entering the system. Number three, clickjacking. Clickjacking involves tricking users into clicking on elements that appear legitimate but perform unintended actions. For example, attackers might frame a button or link that looks harmless but performs malicious actions. The CSP combats this by restricting which sites can frame or embed content, effectively preventing this manipulation. Number four, malware distribution. Attackers often use compromised websites to distribute malware to unsuspecting users. The CSP reduces the risk of malware spreading by controlling the scripts and resources allowed to load on a page, ensuring that malicious content cannot be executed. And number five, site defacement. This attack involves unauthorized changes to the visual appearance of a website, which damages an organization's reputation and user trust. The CSP prevents this by tightly controlling the elements that can be rendered, ensuring that only authorized content and styles are displayed. By using these expanded controls, CSP in Shibboleth version 5 effectively mitigates these common vulnerabilities, keeping systems and users secure. Another feature, if we go on to the next slide here, Another feature is the support for sealed cookies in some login flows, which allows for the secure storage and retrieval of usernames. This feature is currently available for the password flow, but could be extended to other custom flows with some additional configuration. So let's break down how this works. Traditional remember password features are convenient but risky, as they store sensitive information in ways that can be intercepted. Shibboleth's approach uses sealed cookies, which are encrypted and signed by the server. This method ensures that even if someone tries to access the cookie, they cannot decrypt or tamper with it without the correct server key. The sealed cookie allows us to pre-populate the username field securely without compromising security, providing a convenient and secure middle ground between full autofill and manual entry. This method not only speeds up the login process, but also adheres to best security practices by ensuring the integrity of the stored data. The third feature I want to go over is the simplified update checks. So the third feature, this is actually an idp.updatecheck.enable property on the IDP server itself, designed to streamline version management by running a quick check to see if updates are available directly from the IDP startup logs. So the main impact of this new feature is for admins. This feature is primarily aimed at administrators who manage Shibboleth servers. It simplifies the update check-in process, saving time and reducing the need to search online for the latest version details. Only authorized admins can view this information within the logs, so the risk of unauthorized access is mitigated. The update details are not visible to non-admins, so this ensures only those responsible for maintaining the system can access this feature. By integrating this into the IDP logs, Shibboleth ensures that updates are more accessible, helping administrators keep systems secure and up to date without the extra hassle. The last feature I want to go over is the OpenID Connect integration. Right now, there's a lot of effort by the Shibboleth developers to improve OpenID Connect integration with Shibboleth so that there's better support for websites that don't offer SAML and better support for mobile apps or other services. OpenID Connect enables secure token-based authentication without simplifying integration with applications that require OAuth 2.0. With OpenID Connect support, Shibboleth can leverage advanced token-based security mechanisms, reducing risks related to session hijacking and token replay. Shibboleth can work with OpenID Connect by acting as either an OpenID provider or an OpenID Connect relying party. This allows Shibboleth to support modern web-based applications that rely on OpenID Connect for secure authentication. So the first method being Shibboleth as an OpenID Connect provider. In this role, Shibboleth acts as the IDP for OpenID Connect, allowing it to authenticate users and issue OpenID Connect tokens. This enables applications or relying parties to authenticate users via the OpenID Connect protocol instead of using SAML. The other method is Shibboleth as an OpenID Connect relying party. In this setup, Shibboleth can be integrated as an OpenID Connect client, allowing it to consume tokens from external OpenID Connect providers, such as Google or Microsoft. This is particularly useful when an organization wants to use a third-party OpenID Connect provider for user authentication, but continue using Shibboleth for attribute management and federated login. I think there's one more feature to cover actually, which is WebAuthn or passwordless passkeys authentication plugin. So what is WebAuthn? WebAuthn is a modern web standard that allows users to log in without passwords. Instead of traditional credentials, it uses public key cryptography to secure the login process. WebAuthn is a part of the FIDO2 framework and is supported by all major browsers and platforms. So passkeys, which are built on WebAuthn, offer a simple and secure alternative to passwords. These cryptographic key pairs are stored securely on devices like smartphones or hardware tokens, making them both convenient and safe to use. So some of the benefits of WebAuthn and passkeys: they offer stronger security, so they protect against phishing, man-in-the-middle attacks, and credential theft. They're passwordless, so there's no need to remember or manage passwords anymore. Passkeys sync across devices, so they're easy to use on multiple devices. And they're MFA ready, so they combine device ownership and biometrics, offering built-in multi-factor authentication capabilities. So how do passkeys work? They use a private public key pair. So the private key is stored on your device, like the iPhone's secure enclave, and it never leaves that device. The public key, meanwhile, is stored on the server. So when you log in, your device uses the private key to sign a challenge sent from the server. This proves your identity without needing to share any sensitive information. It can act as either a second factor or as the first and only factor, while still satisfying multi-factor authentication requirements. There are two main authentication options offered by Shibboleth v5. So we can either use device-bound passkeys like hardware security keys, and you can combine something you have, which is the key, with something you are, which is biometrics. And there's also an option, multi-device synced passkeys. So these can be stored in password managers. So even though they aren't a physical something you have, they still provide strong MFA assurances in many contexts. These new features show how Shibboleth continues to evolve to meet the modern identity management needs and constantly developing security culture.
Thank you, Harry. So I would like to remind all of our audiences. So before we move on to the next topic, I would love to remind everyone that if you have any questions, our tech expert is ready to help. Please feel free to type your questions in the chat box, and we will make sure to get them answered as soon as possible. So, to continue, Harry, can you explain how Shibboleth's role-based access control works and how it can streamline access management for organizations?
Sure. So role-based access control, or RBAC, in Shibboleth utilizes attribute-based policies to manage user permissions efficiently. This isn't a new feature in Shibboleth version 5, but it's definitely a powerful capability that many of our customers leverage. So here's how it works. When a user attempts to access a service, attributes like group memberships are sent from the identity provider, or the IDP, to the service provider. These attributes determine whether the user has the necessary permissions to access the resource. For example, if the user is part of a specific group, say the finance team, and Shibboleth can then be configured to grant access only if the user belongs in that group. So this method is easy to manage because permissions are centralized in your Active Directory. So if you need to grant or revoke access, it's as simple as updating the user's attributes in the Active Directory, making role-based access control both scalable and efficient for organizations of any size.
Okay, just to remind the audiences again, before we move on to the next topic, I want to remind everyone that if you have any questions, our tech expert Harry is here and ready to help. Please feel free to type your questions in the chat box and we will make sure to get them answered as soon as possible. So to move on to the next topic, we have now reached the Q&A section of our Fireside Chat. If you have any questions, just write them in the Q&A box and we'll bring it up live. Please, everyone, do not hesitate because this is a great chance for you to get your questions answered in real time. So we're going to wait for a moment. Oh, we've got one question from the audience. Okay, Harry, the first one is, what is the recommended upgrade process from Shibboleth V5 from V4 to V5? Are there any specific tools or scripts to help with this?
So the recommended upgrade process to migrate from Shibboleth version 4 to version 5, it does involve a list of changes to the Shibboleth configuration files that need to be made before the Shibboleth version is upgraded, just to reduce any end user downtime. Once that list of changes has been made, you should then upgrade the Jetty and the Java services to the supported versions, and that's before upgrading the Shibboleth version itself. After making the relevant changes, we use an Ansible script or playbook from our end, which allows us to upgrade the Jetty version, Java version, and Shibboleth version all on a server at once, which again reduces the end user downtime with only one kind of window of downtime there while that's being upgraded. So an Ansible playbook is an automation tool that can execute tasks in a sequence, and this works really well for us.
Thank you for answering that question. I hope it really assists our audience. Thank you very much for everyone who have typed in the chat box. We have received 3 more questions for you, Harry. So your next question is, will upgrading to Shibboleth v5 require changes to our existing configurations or integrations?
So the Shibboleth version 5 upgrade does not affect your existing configurations or integrations with service providers. If there are any issues with any of your service providers that are accessed using Shibboleth after the upgrade, this would most likely point to an issue with the Shibboleth configuration itself. So I'd contact whoever either supports your Shibboleth or maybe take a look into the logs to see if you can try and see why that issue is occurring.
Okay, so your next question is, how has security improved in Shibboleth v5? He also wants to know that are there any new mechanism or protocols?
So aside from the previously mentioned extended support of the content security policy, version 5 does come with more secure default configurations such as stricter cipher suites, enhanced SAML message signing, and encryption defaults, which protects against common vulnerabilities.
Harry, I hope you should be ready because the chat box is now. We got new questions coming up. Okay, so your next question is, how long will Shibboleth v4 be supported after v5 is released? Should we prioritize upgrading it immediately?
So Shibboleth version 4 did reach end of life on the 1st of September this year. So this means that there are no longer any security patches or bug fixes being released on an as-needed basis by the developers. If you're not already running Shibboleth version 5, your current version could be prone to a vulnerability, and the only quick fix in this instance would then be to upgrade. So it would probably be wise to get upgraded to version 5 as soon as possible.
Okay. So does Shibboleth v5 support additional authentication methods such as MFA by default?
So Shibboleth itself does support additional authentication methods by default, but they do often require further configuration just to fully integrate. So for MFA in particular, specific MFA methods such as Duo or WebAuthn must be configured. If you want to customize MFA when it is triggered, for example, only for specific services or user roles, Shibboleth does allow detailed scripting and decision logic for these scenarios. Shibboleth can also be integrated with Microsoft Azure authentication, but again, this does require additional configuration.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for typing in the chat box. And your next question is, do you have any information on specific MFA products that can be used with our IDP and how much customization is possible?
So as mentioned just now, really, I think Duo or WebAuthn are some common MFA methods integrated with Shibboleth. I think Duo is definitely the most common MFA method, as this kind of comes with a pretty popular mobile app that can be configured with Shibboleth to work.
Okay. Next question is will Shibboleth V5 work seamlessly with our current resources, or do we need to notify them of our upgrade to V5?
So in terms of services that you access via Shibboleth, Shibboleth version 5 does work seamlessly with these. You don't need to notify them of the upgrade, but it would be useful if there are any issues following the upgrade. If you let them know that we have just upgraded to version 5, it may help get to the bottom of that issue a little bit quicker.
Okay, thank you, Harry. I would like to remind everyone, first of all, I would like to thank everyone who have written in the chat box in the Q&A section. And I would love to remind that if you have any questions, please don't hesitate, just bring it out. Harry is here to help, and he's very ready, and he is our expert, and he is very ready to help. Okay, so we have got another question. It's are there any recommendations for optimizing Shibboleth for scalability in large organizations?
So some of our larger customers do use load balancing just to ensure there's high availability with their Shibboleth IDP servers, providing that aspect of failover to the service itself. And also this allows the possibility of the inactive server just to be used for testing or kind of a trial run for some services they may want to integrate. This, alongside an integrated monitoring software, would provide you with that peace of mind. With a high number of users, you may also be constantly battling with the processing load and memory usage on the server itself. So we do recommend limiting the number of attributes that are released during authentication by only sending what is necessary. And then also just looking into ways you can tune the JVM and memory usage, such as adjusting the heap size or changing log deletion settings.
Okay, we've got another question from the Q&A. So has Shibboleth V5 admin interface been improved? And he also wants to know, are there any new features for easier administration?
So while there's no real admin interface for Shibboleth, we do actually offer a product ourselves which essentially provides this, and that's our Overt IDP dashboard. So the dashboard provides everything you could want from an admin interface and more. The homepage of the dashboard shows the IDP service status, memory, disk space, server load, current software versions, and key service statuses. You're able to see detailed reports on authentications per resource over a custom time frame for all configured service providers, and you're even able to see a heat map of where in the world users access from based on their IP address. We've also got a feature within our dashboard to allow us to apply role-based access control from the IDP side. So this is what we spoke about earlier, but rather than it kind of being set based on the resource end, this actually kicks in after authentication from the IDP itself. And that's to allow or deny a specific user access to a resource based on their assigned values within Active Directory.
Okay. I would like to remind everyone that if you have any questions, please do not hesitate. Just write them in the chat box in the Q&A, and we'll get them out for Harry to answer it live, real time. And so we've got two more questions. Are existing extensions and plugins for Shibboleth V4 compatible with V5, or will they need to be updated?
So existing extensions and plugins from version 4 will most likely need changes to work with version 5. So things like HTTP client changes need to be made. So old plugins that are version 4 versions won't work, and they will need to be updated further to be updated to version 5. On the actual list of kind of changes that need to be made from the developers that came with version 5, there may be parts of configuration in that kind of tell you what exactly needs to be updated within the plugin itself. But there may also be more information online about that.
Okay. Next question is, How long are updates for Shibboleth v5 to be expected, or when Shibboleth v5's EOL?
So in terms of the end of life for Shibboleth
Oh,
version 5, there hasn't been a confirmed release date for version 6 yet. And Shibboleth typically follows an approach of deprecating older versions after several years of support. So it is expected that version 5 will have this similar multi-year support cycle. And once the actual end of life date, well, once the version 6, sorry, is kind of announced, that's when we'll most likely get an end of life date for version 5.
okay. Honestly, that was actually the last question that came in the Q&A. So I would like to remind everyone while Harry's still here, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to just type it in the chat box in the Q&A section, and we will get it out for Harry to answer it real time live. Um, Yes, I would read it because there's a bit link, so it's kind of okay. So, do many of your clients use the research and scholarship bundle? And are you able to say what sort of application it has? This particular audience is interested in how many services use the edu person entitlement attribute to limit access to small bespoke groups.
So it's not something that I think any customers use of ours. I'm not too sure. I think in terms of um, research and scholarship bundle, I'm not 100% sure. But in terms of the eduperson entitlement attribute, this is something that is quite used a lot. It's kind of used as much as the member of attribute to actually have an entitlement. So there's some services that our customers do access that actually require the IDP to release a specific value within the eduperson entitlement attribute in order for them to have access to the resource. And I think this also can limit access to any group that you can set within Active Directory. So if you want to create a group of users and assign them a specific eduperson entitlement value, you could actually use that to restrict access to a service or allow access to a service.
Well, if anyone has any other questions before we close off this webinar, please feel free to write down your question in the chat box of the Q&A section, and we'll bring your question immediately to Harry. Well, I guess that brings us to the conclusion of our Fireside Chat webinar. Take advantage of our free consultation offer today. Just scan the QR code in this slideshow, and we are here to assist you in maximizing your use of Shibboleth and securing your organization's future. So I would like, on behalf of Overt Software Solutions, we would love to thank you all for joining us today, as together we have explored some of the most exciting updates regarding the Shibboleth version 5. So I wish you all such a lovely day, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Harry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, for doing the slideshow as well. I hope to see you soon.